PricewaterhouseCoopers says that 40% of employees are overwhelmed by AI recommendations at work, in the workplace. Wade, let's hear from you. What do you think about AI in the workplace? Are folks going to be overwhelmed, or are folks going to integrate at an organic pace here?
One of the things that I'm working on is what exactly is changing in the age of AI. And one of the things is downloading or reducing cognitive load, which basically means AI is doing a lot for us, yes, but what are we doing with that other time? Because if we're using it too much, all of a sudden we're not as sharp as we used to be, we're leaning in too much, we're starting automating everything. But on the other side, if there's too much cognitive load, it leads to stress, burnout, and then procrastination. So there is a balance between how to use AI. So there's always the human intervention. We start to see in the news today, you look at DeepSeek, what's going to happen? They built it for $6 million. Is that really true? It outperforms ChatGPT because ChatGPT says, hey, we built our model for $100 million and you did it for 6. Is that really true? But the benchmarking is saying, yeah. So what do we do with that information? The change is taking place is how will we play in the future? I really look at it analogous to how railroads were invented 150 years ago when there was it was called a railroad war, where who was going to build the tracks first. But it wasn't about the track. It was all about the transportation and what we're going to do with it. So same thing here. We're building out the infrastructure as far as the models and the platforms are concerned. But the next thing, as far as 2025 and 2026, is our cognitive behavior and how we're using the tool. It's the human intervention.
Let's talk a little bit more about content creation. Amazon has made a killing at personalized recommendations and content creation in their platform. It has increased their revenue by 35%. Wade, let's talk a little bit about sort of the ethical line here. When is that crossed or not when it comes to personalization and AI? Privacy rights, your digital trail, the corpus of data that companies are potentially using?
Well, we all enjoy customization. With Netflix or Hulu or wherever you're using, we appreciate the recommendations. But we don't always use the recommendations. Sometimes we're in a mood for something a little different. So in regards to that, we kind of get involved in what's called an echo chamber, where you just keep getting the same thing. So that's the downside of customization. So what we want to do is be able to change the mood if we feel like it. So as far as content creation, because in regards to AI, what you're looking for is not just content creation, but also predictive patterns, and then from growth from there. So in regards to looking for something different, it's a matter of not just looking at the blanket audience as far as, oh, you did it this last week, it's going to be always that way. No. So we are now looking at more agile compliance rules and regulations going forward. It's interesting, the reason why this is important. If you look at innovations from the past, it has been the personal computer, the internet, smartphone, streaming, and then e-commerce, Amazon. But those particular innovations were all about the distribution of information, and that's fine. Where's the regulations there? But AI, it's about the receiving of information, the manipulation, the reasoning, if you will. That's where the compliance will come into play. So with that being said, what we have to do is rethink how a breakthrough influence takes place, how it's evaluated, valued, and then it becomes what we talked about, an unconscious competency. We're all using it because at this point, it's like, will I really use a bot in the future? Of course we will, just like we have a smartphone, we have a computer, we wash our hands, unconscious competencies. So the same thing here in regards to compliance. It's not just a matter of one size fits all. It has to be agile based on those situations.
The folks that are here are probably going to be one of the key folks to help evolve their workplace to using AI. What would be one of the first steps that people can take, that they could take if they're interested in bringing AI to the workplace in terms of policy development?
From my perspective, it's good to have an AIRB, an Artificial Intelligence Review Board, in regards to what's happening. And then after that, have a legal risk and compliance team that's used to and is really adroit to, these are the policies that we have to adhere to, because most of the time, if we're dealing with information, it's someone else's information, whether it's HIPAA or whatever. So we have to be very careful in that. So creating those two boards will help us move forward. And the reason why that's important is we have our own jobs, So we don't have time to be, legalese attorneys. So let's leverage. So I think those are the two good first steps. And then the third is creating a stage gate in regards to if you're looking at your iterations in regards to this is a great idea for AI, go through the process of this is ideation, and then we'll explore, develop, scale it out, or pilot and then scale. So go through those stages, and that will help you where everybody's better off, no one's worse off.
Be conscious of your industry, find a buddy. Leslie, you talked about partnering with legal, making sure that they're on the same page.
Yeah, make legal your best friend.
That sounds like good advice. It's not the most sexy topic, but it is one of the most impactful, and that's policies writ large, global policies that are happening that are affecting AI and, what it means for us in the workplace. So let's just spend a little bit of time on that.
You have to understand as well is what are we searching on? Because the internet or AI within itself, it's structured in data first, and we're talking about 42 years. The internet has been in existence for 42 years. And everything from the Gutenberg printing press in the 1400s is on the internet. But not all of that information is valuable. So there has to be this colander that we're straightening it down. So there has to be an active participation in regards to compliance because ChatGPT, we're trusted. We ask for a question, and it's like, oh, we trust it. But
I don't trust it.
It's right, we can't. Yeah, we can't. Or Gemini. Is that better? Right. So anyway, but in regards to compliance, to your point, it's another piece of activity and inference. It's more of a trust and verify. So I totally agree with you there.
Yeah. Are there certain industries that you think, from people working, we have a lot of intersectionality here, should be focused more on regulation and compliance than others, or is it par for the course? Wherever regulation and compliance exists, you should double down because AI is going to make it even more so.
I'm in the healthcare space primarily right now, so HIPAA is very important. And then I've done a lot with governmental, like the VA services 19 million veterans in the U.S. So that's a lot of information that you want protected. So as far as what's the number one, instinctively I would say healthcare, and then finance, and then insurance, but that's a singular perspective.
David, there's still a literacy gap when it comes to AI. So, as again, this topic is about trends for this year, what specific AI skills should marketing and comms professionals really focus on for themselves and their teams in this calendar?
And I would put on top of that speed to iteration, speed to implementation and experimentation, and then the ability to rethink everything. And I do mean everything, because the future that we're looking at is not what we expected. I mean, think about October of 2022. If we were talking about, well, in 2025, we'll be talking about this ChatGPT or whatever, Claude, Gemini. There you go. It's not happening. So now, just reimagine everything as far as how you present, how you interact, react. And in regards to AI, we know it's easy to generate content now. They say in 2030 that 80% of the internet is AI generated, which is disconcerting to me. Where's the creativity? So in regards to the skill set, I would say iteration, experimentation, imagination.
And
Researchers have found, according to Stanford AI Lab, that AI can detect emotional states with 85% accuracy. And then Meta has just announced that they have a prototype that they're working on that can accurately understand thoughts by perceiving brain wave patterns with EEG. So how far do we anticipate predictive AI going when it comes to biometrics? Are we entering a Minority Report sort of world, or is this still further far afield and we're just getting the basics in place with AI?
One of my favorites is ambient AI, where just right now you can have an agent listening to this conversation, or if you're a doctor, you're just listening, and then it could take that information, decipher it as far as from a doctor's perspective. What is the issue? How can it be treated? Drugs to be used? And instead of the doctor, trying to remember that experience and taking notes and not listening to the patient, that information is taken from the phone up to the cloud, created a document, and they can just say, hey, basically this is it. That is a multiple modality item that I think the press and comms could use where it's just available right now. So that's one of my favorites right now.
All right, last question, hopefully highly tweetable responses. One word, when it comes to 2025 trends in our industry, what comes to mind?
Agents.
Agents?
I'm gonna have to agree, agents.
Yeah, I would have to go with that.
All right, I'll be different.
All right, there you go. We're all learning about agents now. Thank you
Agents,
so much to Reagan Communications. That was our panel on catching 2025.
Thank you, guys.